Number one for the one and only DNVR. Two goes out to Zach, Mace, Arcade, and the bar. Three for Mr. B in that old trophy case. Another four still waiting for, well, bring on the chase. Out on the field at Mile High, Broncos win is our desire. Coupled with Breck, brewing a friend, bleed orange and blue to the bitter end. Come and join us, DNVR. We are DNVR.
We are DNVR. Excuse me. And we are live from Studio C today. And the C stands for, could they really get Rodgers and Adams? Now, this isn't our idea. I don't know where that's coming from. This isn't our idea. This is something
I gave you my throat, Ryan.
I know. This has come up from two separate, very well-connected people. And we'll discuss exactly what they've been talking about here in just a second. But first, a shout out to our friends MSU Denver, msudenver.edu/online, where you can go to scope out all they have to offer. They can educate you on everything, including, how to manage a salary cap, which might be something that we talk about here in just a second. But there's so much over at MSU Denver Online. 75 online and hybrid programs, 450 total classes, something for everyone. And if you're looking to maintain a full-time job while furthering your education, there is no better place to go than MSU Denver, because MSU Denver students work twice as many hours as students attending any other online institution. So check out our friends over at msudenver.edu/online today.
My boys, what's up? I mean, Ryan, what we're about to talk about today, and Mace, boy, it's going to get Broncos fans really excited for the new year.
Yes, it is. And let's start with the first place I saw this. And that was from a article that came out from Woody Page over the weekend. And I didn't think much of it because while the headline really grabs you, I just sent it to you guys so I can read the headline. It says, from Woody Page, the dominoes will fall and usher a revamped Broncos era after Raiders game. I'm like, okay, well, let's see what Woody has to say here. But then in the story, before he leads into a bunch of scenarios that we talked about the other day, Zach, he says something along like the lines of let's build the perfect Christmas wish list for the Broncos. And in there he includes,
boy, does he.
Yeah, and he does. It is the perfect scenario for the Broncos. It includes Peyton Manning as a joint owner with Brittany Bolin. It includes of course, what we're about to talk about, Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams. It includes the Broncos hiring Nathaniel Hackett. So it goes on and on and on. And I was like, okay, so was he saying he thinks that's going to happen? Or is he saying that's a perfect scenario? Because it's definitely a perfect scenario. Then Peter King comes out with almost the exact same quarterback and coach and wide receiver scenario for the Broncos. I believe it was today. Peter King, or maybe yesterday, coming out with an article that says Broncos hire Nathaniel Hackett, who is the Packers offensive coordinator and presumably has a good relationship with Aaron Rodgers. Broncos sign Davante Adams in free agency, and Broncos trade 2 first-round picks and Jerry Jeudy, and I believe there was a couple other picks in there, maybe a fourth or something, for Aaron Rodgers, leaving the Broncos with Hackett, Rodgers, and Adams, and just losing Jerry Jeudy and those 2 first-round picks. And Peter King also points out that the Broncos do have 2 seconds and 2 thirds they would still be able to make selections with this year. So now that it's come out, Woody's thing was kind of confusing. Is that real? Is that not? And then Peter King floating out the almost exact same scenario tells me, all right, there is a little smoke to this. There is a little fire to this smoke.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, it seems obviously Woody was building a dream scenario because not only did he have Peyton Manning, but he also had Brittany Bolin owning the Broncos. He had Peyton Manning taking over John Elway's operation of vice president of football operations. Then you also, in that scenario, have John Elway trying to own part of the Broncos as well. So it was a dream scenario. And Woody's a Colorado guy. So he's coming from it where he's just viewing the Broncos' perspective here. But you have Peter King, and in his article, he talks about hundreds of things, right? In his weekly article, it's fantastic. He only throws out one scenario of Aaron Rodgers after the season. And it does come right after he says it does seem like Aaron Rodgers loves Green Bay right now. But he says, well, what if Aaron Rodgers does want to move on? And this is the only scenario he throws out. Is the Denver Broncos. And so this is good because from a national perspective, the Broncos aren't going away from being a team that's competing. And so I think that's kind of where you start right here. Aaron Rodgers has not told his camp, the Broncos are out on my list. And I don't think there's anything that would really happen where the Broncos would be out here. I think that's where you start, is that from a local perspective and a national perspective, Aaron Rodgers is still in this mix.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because, like you guys mentioned, if this had just been Woody, I think I would have just, no offense to Woody, but I would have just been like, okay, sounds good, moved on, because Woody has some flights of fancy sometimes, and he does kind of think like a fan with all the boundless hopes. Peter King putting it out there is interesting. Now, that being said, I think we've got a lot of steps to get through here.
Of course.
And I think the first step here is what happens with the Packers over the next several weeks in the postseason. And what does their outcome have in terms of on what Aaron Rodgers would want to do? I mean, I think the best scenario for the possibility of Aaron Rodgers playing somewhere else could be Denver. Certainly there would be other suitors coming in if he's available. I think the best scenario is if they lose in the playoffs short of the Super Bowl, like they have every year they've been to the postseason since winning it all the way back in February of 2011. That's the best scenario. If they go to the Super Bowl or win the Super Bowl, I think that increases the chances of him running it back. Like if they go to the Super Bowl and lose, I could see him saying, all right, we're in the right direction. We're close. Let's just run it back. And, like you say, RK, the salary cap it doesn't really exist. Certainly the New Orleans Saints have proven it's a very elastic thing. So I think that's what would happen. And if they win the Super Bowl, I think either he comes back to Green Bay or he just says, I'm going out on a high. I'm out. Maybe I can get the Jeopardy job.
Yeah, I mean, no one can blame him for that. Yeah. But let's talk about the feasibility of this trade. You mentioned the salary cap not being real, which, of course, one of my favorite sentences. So I might say it a few times in the next few months. That's the number one thing I've gotten my mentions right now because I floated this out that it had been floated out, a double floater.
Ooh.
And so many people were responding to me. The Broncos could never make this work. They'd be paying $50 million to wide receivers and this, that, and the other thing. And I'm just like, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. If you're trying to win, especially, the closer you are to winning, the less real the salary cap becomes. The salary cap, in my opinion, is honestly just a crutch for teams that aren't very good to have an excuse to not spend more money to be better.
No. Let's believe in the salary cap in this instance right here, because the Packers are in salary cap hell right now, and they're going to be this coming year. So let's believe the salary cap is real, where they don't have to trade Aaron Rodgers. Of course, they can work anything out to keep Aaron Rodgers, but it's going to be tough for them to keep Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams. And we know for the Packers to keep Aaron Rodgers, they're going to have to do everything to make him happy. And Davante Adams is one of his dudes, right? Now, obviously, I'm sure they can work through it. But if Davante Adams wants to be the highest paid guy and wants his money now, that's going to be tricky. Maybe they would have to then cut a David Bakhtiari or something like that in order to make it happen. Again, they could probably work around these, but when we talk about salary cap, the Broncos are actually in a much better position than the Green Bay Packers in order to put something together for multiple guys.
And don't forget, for the Packers and Broncos and everybody as well, you have all the new contracts that kick in with revenue starting next year as far as television. And so even though there's a little bit of a spread out pandemic hit, we're about to see that big bump on the other side of the new television contracts that would kick in terms of salary cap impact in 23, 24 and beyond. So and I think because of that, because of the expected room the teams are going to have, anybody can kind of, even the Packers to put things together, can kick the can down the road a little bit, knowing there's going to be more room coming on the other side.
Yeah, of course. And again, it's not real. You can do whatever you want. Just move things around, more money. By the way, Broncos will have a new owner, presumably with plenty of cash, which is the actual most important part of making the salary cap fake, is just cash on hand. Can you pay things out in signing bonuses and things of that nature? Okay, so then quickly, though, you would be paying a lot of money to wide receivers and quarterback. I mean, you'd probably be like half of your cap towards those four guys right there. And again, just doesn't really matter. But it's interesting that, both of these scenarios have included Jerry Jeudy, when for the Broncos, it would probably make more sense from a cap perspective and maybe from a talent perspective, that's up for debate, to send a Courtland Sutton instead of Jerry Jeudy. But maybe, Zach, that goes to what you were talking about with the Packers not necessarily having cap space.
Also, for you guys, from an outsider perspective, not for the Broncos, for another team, who's more valuable in your opinion? Who would you want more? Jerry Jeudy going into his third season, or Courtland Sutton on a monster deal? But you could say if he plays up to that deal, it's actually an affordable deal. And going into his fourth season, who would you guys want more? Who do you think's more valuable? Because to me, Jerry Jeudy's more valuable still right now. So that's why I think Jerry Jeudy's being the one traded away, is because he gets the most value.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's definitely, well, from a talent perspective, I'm going Jeudy, because I think that, if used in the right way, like I tweeted this out, watching Jalen Waddle last night, they literally played him at every position, damn near every position other than quarterback and quarterback last night. They lined him up all over the field. They threw it to him out of the backfield on 3rd and short. They gave him a little flip pass at the goal line for a touchdown, and I'm just watching that being like, oh my God. I know Jerry's watching this game because Jalen Waddle's his guy, and he's got to just be pounding his head against Tua, right? He's got to be pounding his head against the wall saying, like, how can my team not figure out how to – he should have just screen recorded those clips and send them to Pat Shurmur and be like, please figure something out. Get me the ball like this. So I do think Jerry Jeudy. Do
you think Jeudy stood up from his couch and started to waddle when Jalen got the touchdown?
Probably. He's kind of.
That's an all-time celebration.
But finally, yeah. So the only thing I'll say against that is the Packers will be, moving into the Jordan Love era, and there's no guarantee of any sort of success there. So you might like having the long-term contract on Courtland Sutton, keeping him around. Whereas I guess you'd have Jerry for 3, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you would.
You keep the
fifth year option.
Okay,
and that,
so
I mean, he wouldn't be cheap in year 5, but you have the ability to keep him around. And I think, and like it or not, contract value does matter in which players are more valuable to the Packers. And Courtland Sutton, he's not elite wide receiver 1, and certainly we'll see on the Davante Adams contract that's what an elite wide receiver 1's contract is going to look like. I think Spottrack.com has his estimated market value at $26.5 million a year. So that's a spicy meatball.
There's no doubt about that. And people may say, well, Courtland's only 15. Well, DeAndre Hopkins is $27 million, and Davante Adams isn't going to want to settle for 15 if DeAndre is getting 27. So I think if we're realistically thinking about this, we got to be thinking 26 to 28 million for Davante.
Yeah, and in the comments here, like everyone has an idea. Like J27 saying the Broncos aren't giving away Judy. In this scenario, they just absolutely would. They just absolutely would.
You give away anyone for Aaron Rodgers or for Russell Wilson.
Yeah, I see I see one comment saying, I see them right there, J27. I see him asking for Tim Patrick, KJ Hamler. No, look, KJ Hamler right now, coming off the knee injury and having the hamstring problems before, KJ Hamler has almost no value right now on the trade market, I'm sorry to say.
And here's the thing, to not wanting to give away Jerry Jeudy. Now, this would never happen because the Packers wouldn't want these guys in return for Aaron Rodgers, but you give away Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, KJ Hamler, and Tim Patrick in order to get Aaron Rodgers. Again, they're not going to want 4 wide receivers when they're trading their quarterback, but you would do that. And then you use your second and your third round pick next year to go get wide receivers, and you can find very good wide receivers. Just look at Cortland Sutton. Just look at Davante Adams in the second, in the third rounds. You get a free agent because free agents are going to want to come here. You give away anyone.
Yeah, I mean, you really would, especially if you've already decided like you're going to go down this path. If you're not in the, if you're in the camp, which I've seen some Broncos fans, it shocks me. But like, oh, we don't want to go for a quarterback who just has 3 years left, et cetera, et cetera. Then maybe you don't want to give away those guys. But if you've made the decision that you're going after Aaron Rodgers, you're saying we want to win a Super Bowl in the next 2 to 3 years, and you're giving whatever you have to give away to do it.
And Ryan, on top of that, some people view Rodgers' football life expectancy at 2 to 4 years potentially. In the Woody Page article, he throws out that you're signing Rodgers to a 6-year contract. Now, you signed Peyton Manning to a 5-year contract, and Peyton ended up playing 4 of those years, so he didn't see the whole contract. But still, if you're signing Rodgers to a 6-year contract, could he burn out after 2 years? Sure. But in his mind, when he signs that, you got to think that he has at least 4 years in mind, right? If you sign in a 6-year deal?
I would think so.
Yeah.
Okay. One other thing that I wanted to talk about, and if you guys have any other, little sticking points that you wanted to bring up, there are reports out there that Davante Adams would love to reunite with Derek Carr. Of course, those two played together in college. And so, that's one more thing. There's no guarantee, I guess, that Davante Adams would want to follow Aaron Rodgers. But, man, that would be a mistake on his part, in my opinion, if you'd rather play with Derek Carr than Aaron Rodgers, continue to go Aaron Rodgers.
I mean, it certainly would be. I don't know what he would be thinking, but maybe that's a fallback option for him. If he can't play with Aaron Rodgers, or let's say Aaron Rodgers stays in Green Bay, and let's say Davante Adams, because we know he's very frustrated with Green Bay. He says, no chance I'm staying in Green Bay. That could be a good fallback. But what also we don't know is there's a chance Derek Carr is playing somewhere else next year. There's a chance he's not even playing in Las Vegas. And so that would obviously throw Davante Adams up in the air. Maybe that would make it more likely he plays with Derek. Maybe that makes it less likely. Heck, maybe it's Derek and Davante in Denver.
And just thinking out loud here, maybe even though Davante Adams gets along well with Aaron Rodgers, maybe he's just ready for a change. Maybe he's ready for a different quarterback. And that's somebody that he likes going all the way back to Fresno State. And that's something that may be in play as well.
Yeah,
right,
it
Zach.
Absolutely could be. That's what we would call foolish. But Mace, I don't think you're foolish for saying that. I just think that'd be foolish for Davante.
I agree. Yeah, because Davante's on a Hall of Fame trajectory with Aaron Rodgers, and I can't imagine him replicating what he was with Aaron Rodgers with Carr. I mean, Rodgers is a potential Hall of Famer. Carr is, as Peter King would say, Carr is headed for the Hall of Very Good, but not the Hall of Fame. There's a difference between the two.
Zach, they're coming after you in the chat, so we need answers right now. We've got Levon, we've got Will Jock in there, we've got Brian in there. All these guys are sending money, super chats, to get you to either say on this live that you have re-signed your players, and we're ready to advance, or to vote in the poll in the Madden chat. This is a pressing matter that we must get to right now.
What poll are we talking about? Because I voted in a poll last night. Now, I don't think it
You
was
voted
what.
no.
Yeah, I know. I voted no. I was going to say, I don't think it was the vote everyone wanted. But you know what, Ryan? I will drop everything after. Should I just drop this pod right now and go pick up the controller? No, I'll drop
they paid
everything.
like $10 for that. So
it's true. I will get my players resigned. Although I think they're already resigned, but I don't want to send those guys to the open market and have their price drive up 10 times. So I will do that right after this pod.
All right, look at that. You guys, you bang the table, you get what you want. Another place where you might see people banging tables, the DNVR bar, because they're chanting, they're getting hyped, they're getting excited for the game. And we're back open. We are excited to have you guys. We've got the Nuggets still in action, about the only team in Colorado that's playing this week until the Broncos play again, of course. Air Force. We got Air Force, I believe, in a bowl game tonight, unless that got canceled too. Check out the DNVR bar. Come hang out. Watch the Nuggets right now. Come watch the Broncos on Sunday. Always a great time over there, and you can get your Breck brews. You can get some of our great burgers. I love the wings. We got the new Mad Dog sauce, which I was banging the table for because I said we needed a hotter wing sauce. Now we have an adequately hot wing sauce. So come hang out with us at the DNVR bar. You might run into one of us. You might run into one of the Nuggets guys, anyone down there. It's always a great time, so come hang out.
Guys, something else that is a great time is winning money over at DraftKings Sportsbook. And I really wish I would have given out my DraftKings pick of the week yesterday, because I promise you guys, I was all over the Dolphins -3. I actually got it -1.5 last week, but even the -3, it was so juicy. And then, yeah, Ian Book delivered. Thank you, Ian, for looking really bad. And it's wild that the Dolphins are the first team in NFL history to have a 7-game losing streak and a 7-game win streak in the same season.
How is that? Like, I can't even comprehend it. Can you imagine the tone of this podcast after a 7-game losing streak for the Broncos?
To pretty much start the season too.
We've never even, I don't think we've had bad. We've never had 7, right? There was a 6-game losing streak at one point.
It was 8 games. It was 8 games.
Oh, okay.
But then, 8 games, and because they started 3-1, and they got to 3-9 back in 2017, and that was the longest losing streak in 50 years.
Well, so what's the longest winning streak that we've had since covering the team in 2016? Would it be 3? 4?
4 probably at the start of the 2016 season. So,
right.
I mean, you guys started off with a bang, and then
Zach wasn't on the pod then, though.
No.
That was me and BK. I remember because I told him on the podcast. Maybe I jinxed everything. I said they were 4-0. I forget, who are they playing the next week?
They were playing Atlanta.
Yeah, and I said something along the lines of if they win this week, people are gonna get bored. And it was true. Our numbers were going down because people were just okay, yeah, wake me up when it's Super Bowl time again. And then everything fell apart from there.
What happens when you take success for granted? You can't do that.
Yeah,
it's so true. People are still waiting for that Super Bowl, so that's where all of our listeners are. But guys, the DraftKings Sportsbook paid me out last night, and they want to pay you out. If you bet $5 on any NFL team to win, and they win this week, you'll get $200 in free bets on top of your winnings of that bet. So head to the App Store now, download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now, and use promo code DNVR when you sign up to get this offer. Also, get in on the same game parlays. No Thursday night football this week, but Sunday football is going to be packed. But don't worry, you don't have to wait till Sunday to get in on the action. There's bowl games today, tomorrow, Thursday, and then, of course, we got Alabama playing on Friday, and then, of course, the New Year's Six Bowl. So you can get in on all the action over at DraftKings Sportsbook. So head to the App Store now and download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code DNVR to get the $200 in free bets when you place $5 on an NFL team and they win. Must be 21 or older, Colorado only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700. All right, guys, I want to get into our draft kicks pick of the week this week because I've messed around with this the past couple of weeks and tried to get cute, tried to be fancy. None of that for me today. What I'm doing is I'm going back to what won me money yesterday. I'm going with the Miami Dolphins this coming week to beat or at least cover the spread against the Tennessee Titans in Tennessee. The Dolphins are 3-point underdogs. It's floating 3.5. If you can grab them at 3.5, I would do that in a heartbeat. Because, guys, I like the Dolphins to keep it at least a 3-point game, if not just straight up win.
Love that. And yeah, I was with you last night. I hammered the Dolphins. As aggressive as I've gone on any pick in the DraftKings Sportsbook era. And that felt really good. It felt really good.
And the good thing about that was you never had to worry about it. I mean, Ian Book throws his first pass, and you're like, "Thank you,
yep,
great,
game over."
Yeah.
And it would have been. That was enough points right there off the pick six to win the game. Okay, so I've got two for you. Now, one is a feel-good pick, and one is a feel less bad pick. Let me explain. Nuggets taking on the Warriors tonight, 8 p.m. And if there's one thing that I know about Nuggets-Warriors matchup, this is the feel less bad pick, is that Steph Curry owns the Nuggets. Now, he pretty much owns everyone, but it feels like he specifically hates the Nuggets. I don't know what we did to deserve this.
And that's why I don't like him.
Yeah, it's fair. I don't know what we did to deserve this, but it feels like he just really enjoys hurting us. So his over-under is set at 29.5 points tonight. He's going to go over that. So if you have money on that, you'll feel less bad when it happens. It's a feel less bad pick. But if you don't like that, which I understand, and you want a feel-good pick, well, then you go into the rebounds category, take our guy, our king, Nikola Jokic, to go over 13.5 rebounds. It is wild that his number is set this high in this day and age. Yeah, he's got back-to-back 20-point, 20-rebound games. And the Golden State Warriors aren't even really interested in the center position. So he's just going to gobble up rebounds all night. That'll be an easy over. He'll probably go for 20 again.
That is insane. That is set at 13.5.
And it's too low.
Wow.
That's his average.
Oh, that is insane.
Yeah, it's crazy.
All right. I mean, I don't know. I think it's hard to place bets right now with COVID wreaking havoc, games being canceled, players being pulled out, etc. So I don't. We're gonna go for the Ashes in cricket. I'm gonna take England 11-2 over Australia in their next test match in the Ashes, which is on January the 4th. But it's like I look at I look at NFL games. I'm like, I don't know who's gonna play in any of these games this weekend.
Yeah, well, that's why it's hard to make picks that far ahead, which is an advantage for me because I've never been a picks in advance guy.
Yeah.
I like to have my money until right before the game, put it down for the game, and then get it back after the game. But yeah, so I mean, the thing is, you can really mine these things. Last night, I just couldn't believe it that it was set at 3 points, because not only did the Saints not have a quarterback, which right then, if they had every other player and were still starting Ian Book, I still would have taken the Dolphins at -3. But they were also ravaged across the entire team. Blew my mind, and I hit the under too, and I parlayed the spread and the under. So it was a great night. It was a great night.
Alrighty then. Also, I want to tell you, of course, about Breckenridge Brewery, the official beer of DNVR. Is Christmas ale still around, guys? I mean, we're past Christmas, but you can still get Christmas ale, right? Yeah, it's still.
I finished off one of those kegs last week.
Yeah, you can. But you can probably
still say last night. I was like, wow.
Yeah, are you doing okay there? Yeah, we know you're a little under the weather.
That's why I sound rough today.
Oh, okay. Well, you can still get those Christmas ale kegs at plenty of stores around Colorado and beyond. If you want to find out where to get those Breck beers, whether it's Christmas ale, whether it's any of their regular flavors that they have 12 months a year, check out the Breck Beer Finder on the Breckenridge Brewery website, and you're going to find probably someplace not too far from you that has those delicious Breck brews. I've had no trouble finding Breckenridge Breweries beers available pretty much anywhere in any, or at least any major city in the country that I've been to, and I've checked on that. So you want to check out the Breck Beer Locator to find out where you can get those delicious Breckenridge brews. Of course, come on down to the DNVR bar if you want a little more Breck brew for your money, because you can get the big beer for the price of a small beer if you're a DNVR member. And of course, if you can't make it to the DNVR bar, but you're in the Denver area, check out the Farmhouse. That's at their brewery down in Littleton. They've got great deals. They're socially distanced. They're set up. And if you want to just take out, no problem. Use the code DNVR when you call in your order, and you get $5 off your meals. Check out the Farmhouse and check out all the beers from Breckenridge Brewery, the official beer of DNVR.
All right, Zach, you had mentioned that you have another thought you wanted to bring up on this Hackett Rod. Oh, we got to talk about Hackett too, unless that's where you were going. Rodgers, Adams, Judy, first round pick scenario. What do you got for me?
That's exactly where I'm going with this. Is Nathaniel Hackett. Now, I have nothing against Nathaniel Hackett, but I'm a little confused at why people think that you need to land Aaron Rodgers off it. And now neither of these suggested that you have to land Nathaniel Hackett in order to get Aaron Rodgers, but I don't think that he needs to be paired with Nathaniel Hackett. Look, Aaron Rodgers has had many issues with the Green Bay Packers, and certainly it does seem like his issues stem from management, not the coaching staff. But if he loved this coaching staff so much, so dearly, couldn't imagine life without them, he wouldn't have done this past offseason. He would have said, F you to management, but I'm coming back to the Green Bay Packers. And he didn't do that. Now, he ended up going back. But what I'm saying is, I don't think the Broncos have to hire Nathaniel Hackett in order to get Aaron Rodgers. And on top of that, not just I don't think they have to, but you're just simply not going to know if you're going to be able to land Aaron Rodgers when you hire a head coach, unless somehow you get the intel that says that Aaron Rodgers tells you he will demand a trade from the Packers, and he will demand to only go to the Denver Broncos if they get Nathaniel Hackett. If you get that intel, of course you hire Nathaniel Hackett. You hire Dan Quinn if that's what Russell Wilson says. You do that. I just don't think at the beginning of January, all of these pieces are going to be in place. So I think that, and this is kind of a caution to Broncos fans, if Broncos fans keep Vic Fangio or they go a different direction outside of Nathaniel Hackett or Dan Quinn for Russell Wilson, Nathaniel Hackett for Aaron Rodgers, it doesn't mean the Broncos aren't going to land these guys. I think that notion has been pushed a little too much that you have to hire the head coach based off getting one of these guys.
Well, I think what you're trying to do, though, is you're trying to create a situation where the player is going to say yes. And I think in particular Russell Wilson, because with Wilson, if the Broncos, according to reports, were not on his radar in the past offseason when he was considering potential spots, and a coach hire could make that more amenable to him. There hasn't been kind of the same sense of that with Aaron Rodgers, but at the same time, if Rodgers but either of these guys is probably going to effectively choose their destination. And if hiring a coach makes that possible, then you think long and hard about it. That being said, if you do that, you have to be comfortable with the coach if you don't get one of these elite quarterbacks. And certainly Hackett, what if I told you guys that that Nathaniel Hackett was the play caller for the number 2 offense in football one year when Blake Bortles was his quarterback?
Yeah, I was going to say, I'd just been looking at his resume this morning, and I am extremely impressed. Now, you always worry about these offensive coordinators that are paired up with great quarterbacks, and you say, yeah, well, anyone can look good with Aaron Rodgers, but Mace, you bring up the point. He was in Jacksonville. He helped bring Jacksonville to the AFC Championship game. The fact that even happened seems incomprehensible. And they
fired him part of the way through the next year. I mean, the offense was struggling, but all things kind of come back to earth. And Blake Bortles came back to there. There's only so much you can do. Whereas, like the discussion with Pat Shurmur, for example, is that you look at his career as a play caller. So play caller means you take out those years with Chip Kelly in Philadelphia. He's never had an offense that is ranked higher than 11th in total offense. And, yeah, he hasn't had great quarterbacks. But here you have Nathaniel Hackett with Blake Bortles in 2016. They're 11th in offense. In 2017, they're 2nd in offense. And Blake Bortles can't get more than a practice squad emergency COVID quarterback gig right now.
Yep.
What does that say about Hackett?
You add in the fact that they also had the best running game in the league that year. That'll, help some Broncos fans because obviously, even if you bring in Aaron Rodgers, you still want to be able to use Javonte Williams and you can still run the ball. You like the fact that he comes out of that, kind of West Coast offense world, which is something that's very comfortable to the Broncos. And, a lot of people have wanted to see the Broncos kind of move into that new age of the West Coast that you're seeing in LA, that you're seeing in San Francisco, that you're seeing in Green Bay. That's exciting. And you know what else is exciting to me? 42 years
50?
old. 42 years old.
I knew you were going to bring that up.
How is he has an insane resume for being 42. A lot of coaches don't even crack their way into legitimate positions until they're 42 years old. So, he's got that going. Also,
he's got the right last name, though. That's
sorry.
True.
Yeah,
he didn't go to Stanford. He just worked at Stanford.
Yeah, he worked at Stanford. He went to, I think, he went to UC Davis. But remember, his father was a longtime college and NFL head coach. His father was Paul Hackett, who coached Pitt, coached SC, but also was an offensive coordinator with at least 2 NFL teams and a quarterback coach for a bunch more. So you know what? That's the kind of thing that allows you to get an early start. Is when your old man has been in the NFL for a long time. That gave him, with all respect, and certainly he has accomplished and he's done a lot. He's done a lot with his opportunity, but he did get an opportunity earlier than a lot of people would have because of his familial connections.
Just so like Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah,
I was going to say, you're telling me that's how 3 Kubiaks are in the NFL still? I don't buy it. I think they all just work their way up. No, I definitely buy it. So, guys, I'm totally fine with Nathaniel Hackett's resume. The one that scares me is the name I've mentioned a couple times, Dan Quinn. Yeah. If the Broncos go for Russell Wilson, try to get him, they move on from Vic Fangio. Why are you moving on from Vic Fangio if you're going to hire another defensive guy? The only reason outside of trying to lure Russell Wilson here would be for the game management stuff. How good would the Broncos be right now if Vic Fangio was really good at game management on top of what he's done with the defense? They would probably have a couple, maybe one or two more wins.
2 more wins. Yep.
Each season potentially. Okay, what's that get you? I mean, that gets you a 7-9 pick last year.
And so the defense probably takes a small step back.
Exactly. And that's the thing, especially from where the defense is right now. You can't really ask the defense. Sure, the rush defense did not live up to their job last week. They've been bend, don't break. But at the end of the day, points is what matters, and they are tied with the Patriots for best defense in the NFL at 17 points per game. So you would be asking him to come in and do better on defense? To me, no. So you would be asking him to, 1, manage the game better. That doesn't take you from missing the playoffs to competing for Super Bowls. And 2, you'd really just be asking him to come in and hire a better offensive coordinator, right?
Well, that's huge, though. That I think, no offense, not sorry to interrupt. I thought you were coming to an end there, but that's huge. Like, Dan Quinn has had a very good track record of hiring offensive coordinators. I mean, he had
Shanahan being one.
Yes, Steve Sarkisian. He replaced Kyle Shanahan. Immediately after that, the Falcons still had a top 10 offense. They were number 7 in the league in total offense. He's had a good feel for offensive coordinators. And, I mean, Vic really only got the one hire as OC because Scangarello was kind of foisted on him. But I trust Dan Quinn's instincts on this more than Vic Fangio's.
Well, yes, but you don't have, it's not one or the other. George Paton, I think, is going to have a pretty big input in the next offensive coordinator. So I don't think you're going to be relying on a head coach to make that call that much right now. So I think that's a scenario I don't like unless you find out from back channels that Russell Wilson says, if Dan Quinn goes to Denver, I will absolutely just have tunnel vision on Denver and make it so that's where I ended up. Then of course you can hire, my unborn kid to be the head coach if that's going to be the case, because the Broncos are going to be fine as long as they have Russell Wilson. But that's the scenario that scares me more than Nathaniel Hackett. If you get Nathaniel Hackett and don't get Aaron Rodgers, I think you could still be going in the right direction.
There's another thing also with Quinn, and the one thing that you hear from pretty much everybody that has been around him, that has been in the locker room with him, is that he does a great job of connecting with players on an individual basis. I mean, the stories are legion of how he reaches out to people and how he really connects with those guys. I mean, Tyler Columbus has talked about this. I think he played about an off season and a month of the regular season with Dan Quinn, and thinks the world of him. Even right down to how Dan Quinn informed Tyler that he was being cut at midseason, if that led him to come back to the Broncos for those last 2/3 of 2015 to get that ring. But that's the sort of thing that frankly I think the Broncos are missing, is that kind of connection. That's something that Vic Fangio has kind of struggled to have with his players, and you can't measure that. There's not a number that we can put on that. It's not like we can say, oh, it means one game here, one game there. They had this, like, kind of with game management, we can point to snafus and say that might have made a difference, that et cetera. But that's something that, like, when things are down, you get the sense that the team can maybe rally a little bit more with a coach like Dan Quinn kind of keeping that fire enthusiasm than with the style that Vic Fangio presents.
There's no doubt, and I could see why the intangibles are certainly better than Vic Fangio, and there's certainly things that the Broncos are missing with Vic and this staff. But the thing they're missing the most, in my opinion, is offense. Offense. That's what they need in this
QB.
NFL. So
QB.
That's why I'm so pro offense. If you make a change, and even if you don't make a change, you're going to be making a change at offensive coordinator.
You guys want to know a fun fact? It's extra fun for me. Of the top 10 offenses in the NFL, 9 of them are currently in the playoffs. You know who the 10th is?
Fun for you.
Okay. Chargers?
Yeah, Chargers. 9 out of the top 10 offenses in 2021 are playoff teams. This is an offensive league. Of course, it's great to have a great defense, and you want that. You want to keep this defense great. You want to be able to stop Mahomes and Herbert, like Vic Fangio has shown the ability to do. But you got to have offense in this world. And what I'll say to maybe tie a bow on this, Zach, as to your point, you have to be able to do this, and it's not easy because I don't even know if it's possible. But George Paton has to be able to look at these candidates and say, would they be my top candidate if the quarterback wasn't attached to them? Because there's no guarantee of getting the quarterback. And so he gets paid a lot of money. He needs to be able to say, take the quarterback completely away, put all of the pros and cons of every, get out the old yellow notepads, line down the middle, pros on one side, cons on the other. And then if then you look at Dan Quinn with nothing about Russell Wilson on there and say he's my top candidate, then go for him. And if you look at Nathaniel Hackett and you say he's my top candidate, then go for him. I'll, of course, lean towards Hackett, but, it would be unfair to not mention that Dan Quinn has coached a team to a Super Bowl, which Nathaniel Hackett doesn't have anything close to that on his resume. And Dan Quinn would probably be a Super Bowl champion if it wasn't for Kyle Shanahan. There are pros and cons of all these guys, and you just have to be able to completely separate yourself from the quarterback. And maybe if there's a tie, you use the quarterback as a tiebreaker. Yeah.
And no offense, I just want offense.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. But the other thing, like you mentioned on the defensive, on the offense versus defense, some of the top 10 defenses right now: Carolina, Denver, Cleveland, Chicago. Those are actually 4 of the top 9. So, I mean, ideally you're going to have both, but if you have to have one, you're going to choose offense. And the one thing I can say about Dan Quinn is that you can see in Atlanta, he didn't neglect the offense there as a defensive coach, and that I think is a good sign. I think you do want a coach. If you hire a defensive coach, you want someone who's got that big picture perspective. One thing I wanted to bring up to you guys really quick: did you see the reports that Jacksonville's already interviewing Doug Peterson and Jim Caldwell?
Yep, Broncos are already behind.
Yep, and they're both offensive coaches.
Yep. And Mace, it's exactly why I know some people are saying it's not a big deal to wait till the final, till the season's over. You're putting yourself in a hole, whether you like it or not. If you know you're moving on from Vic, do it now. That's why Mace and I had this conversation yesterday. George Paton he's got to not be certain that he's moving on from Vic, or else he's making a mistake right now.
Yeah, and I've seen some media members even saying it makes no sense to fire the coach now. What do you mean? It makes no sense to not fire him now unless you aren't ready to make a decision. And honestly, that's disappointing to me if you're not ready to make a decision.
Yeah, this would, sure, you can make this argument last year before this rule was in place. Now you are behind it. There's a chance that Sean Khan could absolutely convince Doug Peterson this is the place you want to be, and then right when the season's over, hire him before the Broncos can even get an interview with him. Something like that could absolutely happen.
What I would just say is I think any offensive coach would rather go coach Trevor Lawrence than QBX. That the Broncos are going to have anyway. So they're already behind the 8 ball in that regard, but they're making it worse for themselves by potentially not even getting to interview these guys. It's a bit frustrating unless, there have been some good points brought up as to why the Broncos wouldn't move on from Vic Fangio, mostly relating to ownership. Mike Kliss brought it up yesterday, what we had talked about earlier in the week on the podcast, which is, are the Broncos going to want to strap an owner to a 4, 5, 6 year contract with a new coach? It's kind of weird. So they might be kind of in no man's land here, which again, disappointing. In my opinion, an organizational failure if that happens. Okay, last thing I want to bring up about this trade before we move into the comments. Aaron Rodgers, Davante Adams, Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick, Noah Fant, Albert O, Javonte Williams. Are the 2013 records safe against that team?
With an extra game? No.
No chance. Better running game, in my opinion.
No, Sean was really good that year, though. Guys.
He was really good.
He was really good.
And, of course, you're going to be really good when teams, have to play nickel and dime on every single play.
But remember all the times he was jumping over people, though? I mean,
I don't want to take anything away from No Sean.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't want to denigrate No Sean because that was the year he looked like a first round pick. Finally, I mean the thing with him is the poor guy couldn't stay healthy, but there was that moment.
I'll still take Javonte, especially when we're talking about them having to play nickel and dime on so many plays because Javonte already breaks tackles from defensive linemen. How are these corners going to tackle him on the edge? I love that. So then you've got Demarius, Julius Thomas, Wes Welker, and Eric Decker versus Davante Adams, Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick, and Noah Fant.
What I'm going to say here might sound like blasphemy to some Bronco fans, but Davante Adams alone makes that better because he's better than anybody else in either of those two groups.
Yeah, I mean, he'd be the best receiver in Broncos history. In terms of the player that they got on the field.
I'm not going to
unless we count preseason Jerry Rice.
I'm not doing this to Peyton. Peyton's better than Rodgers and would be able to put up more Star Wars numbers. I can't do it. You guys know that I can't do that. And on top of that, so Ryan, you lay out all the position groups that the Broncos have and how great they would be. And you say, well, the offensive line has struggled a bit. Woody Page suggests that they use their second and third round pick to trade up in the first round next year and get Charles Cross, the offensive tackle from Mississippi State. So there you go. The offensive line gets a big boost.
Sure. Great. Best kept secret, though, is that the offensive line doesn't really matter when you have an elite quarterback. It matters, but you don't have to have an elite offensive line. Just look at what Peyton did.
Well, remember, because in 2011, I think PFF had the Broncos O-line as one of the league's worst, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, and then a year later, they're one of the league's best.
Right.
And the biggest change was J.D. Walton getting hurt 4 games into the season and Dan Copen coming in.
Yeah, Garrett Bowles suddenly looks like he was worth that whole contract all over again. Bobby Massey is a Pro Bowler.
Oh, you can get by with Bobby Massey at right tackle if you got Aaron Rodgers. You're just fine.
Yeah,
keep signing him to 1-year deals until he says I don't want to play anymore.
Cush looks like a genius. Miners is awesome.
Cush looks like a genius after what we saw
today.
on Sunday.
He does. So they have plenty at offensive line, in my opinion, if they were able to get to that.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Let's dream.
George Payton going to have to be making a lot of phone calls to make this happen. And so might I suggest for our guy GP, Mint Mobile. What the best thing is for him is, he can. I assume the Broncos pay for his phone bill. He could save the Broncos money, so then they can better afford to go get Davante Adams by switching over to Mint Mobile. And even better for George here, he's going to be very busy these next 3 months. Well, if they buy 3 months, they're going to get these first 3 months free. So incredible deal from our friends over at Mint Mobile. Why they're able to be so much cheaper than any other provider is because they just took out the middleman. They said, you know what? We don't need to pay for land and space and all that and create stores that no one wants to go to anyway. We'll do everything online and we'll save all that money, and then we'll let our customers save the money as well. So yeah, sign up for Mint Mobile with plans as low as $15 a month. It's legit. We've used it. All you got to do is insert the little Mint Mobile SIM card into the side of your phone, and you're good. You're ready to go. So sign up again. Use the code DNVR and get 3 months free when you buy 3 months from Mint Mobile.
And speaking of money, guys, our friends over at Ball are offering a fantastic opportunity to work for them with super competitive wages starting at $27.39 per hour, with increases at 6, 12, 18 months on the job, and it offers exposure to a lot of other manufacturing opportunities in the plant. And of course, I'm talking about Ball as in the aerospace technology company, Ball as in Ball Arena, and they've got a plant here in Golden that they are hiring for. And you can also get your foot in the door, get a raise there, and then move around in the company, which is so key because they want you to build a career. And if you're looking for a career, you want a job with a great company, text Golden to 77222 and you'll get linked to the open positions, or you can go directly to jobs.ball.com and search for Golden. That's jobs.ball.com and search for Golden. And on top of very competitive wages, they also have so many great benefits, including comprehensive insurance is active the day you're hired. You don't have to wait. You get 401 for retirement. You get stock purchase ownership and even potential for those annual bonuses on top of raises. So if you want a job that's paying over $27 an hour, check out jobs.ball.com and search for Golden.
Did you not get what you wanted for Christmas? Let me ask you guys. Did you get what you wanted? Either of you? Both of you?
I almost got everything I wanted.
Okay. Zach?
What's the gift you're looking for?
Well, you know what? Maybe you're looking for something to take care of those footballs below the waist. And maybe your stocking was just filled with candy and Starbucks gift card or two. It's good stuff, but it's not what you really wanted or needed. You wanted to make sure that everything was trimmed and looking nice and feeling nice down below the waist. That's where our friends at Manscaped come in. Of course, it's still football season, and that means we're going for 2 with Manscaped, as in the 2 balls that most guys have. Blitzing through hairs has never been easier, and now it's time you join the 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped. And you can use a code DNVR at manscaped.com to get 20% off and free shipping. So you didn't get what you wanted or needed, but Manscaped will take care of you. You can make sure you get that gift, and it'll be on its way to you post-haste. You'll get it right after the new year. You're going to start off the new year great by making sure everything in your undercarriage is nice and clean and ready to go. So use the code DNVR at manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping. Check out the Performance Package 4.0. That'll make sure you've got everything you need for a great grooming and hygiene routine to make sure the boys downstairs are smooth like Tom Brady in the fourth quarter. You get the brand new Lawnmower 4.0 here to take your defense of the balls to the next level. The 4th generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. Of course, we told you about that 7,000 RPM motor in the Lawnmower 4.0. It's got a multifunction on-off switch. It's got travel lock, and you can turn a 4,000K LED spotlight on and off. So, hey, you need to shave in the dark? No problem. Manscaped will get you covered with that LED spotlight. It's also waterproof, so if you need to shave in the shower, shave in the rain, shave in the snow, I can't imagine why you'd want to do that. But if you do, I think that's fascinating and perfectly fine. You can use the Lawnmower 4.0 because it's waterproof. There's no 15-yard penalty for this clipping, and there's no penalty for clipping a coupon, as it were, by using the code DNVR, getting 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com to get yourself the gift that you really want and need after Christmas and before the new year. Manscaped.com.
All right, guys, let's jump into the comments, and we start with a few super chats that we got to hit. So let's hit those right off the bat here. From Edward, what's up, guys? Rodgers and Adams would be nice. What would it take to get both of them keep up the good work? Well, Adams is just going to be cash money, which, again, if you have a new owner, you assume you're going to have plenty of that. And then, yeah, we talked about it a little bit with Rodgers. Both Woody and Peter King have only mentioned 2 first-round picks, and if that's all it takes, then congratulations, you got yourselves a steal.
Yeah, that is incredible. I'd be willing to give up a first-round pick for every year that those guys play for you. So if you're only doing 2, man, that's a deal.
And the other thing here is you should be rooting against Aaron Rodgers winning MVP, because back-to-back MVP is going to cost more than 2 first-round picks. There's just no way around it.
It's very true. So what? That means you're really cheering for Patrick Mahomes to heat it up. You're cheering for Tom Brady to finish the season well. Two of Broncos' favorites right there.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's any. I mean, Jonathan Taylor. I think he deserves consideration.
Yeah.
Cooper Kupp, who's possibly going to have the greatest wide receiver season of all time this year.
You know what? I want to see somebody other than a quarterback get it. And I understand if we're talking about value, positional value, I get that. But it bothers me that basically MVP has become quarterback of the year. Let's spread it around. Let's spread the wealth a little bit here. Get some other guys some recognition.
Yeah,
well, in all reality, it should be Derrick Henry. I mean, he did enough those first half of the season to prove it.
He's still, I believe, 3rd in the league in rushing yards.
That is insane.
It might be 4th, but he's definitely in the top 5.
But yeah, right now the odds are at DraftKings: Aaron Rodgers is 4-7, Jonathan Taylor 6-1, Tom Brady 15-2, Josh Allen still 12-1, as is Patrick Mahomes. So Cooper Kupp's only 18-1.
He should really be considered for that. He's been amazing. All right, let's move on in the super chats. Also, proud of the chat. We made it all the way to the 3rd segment before people started fighting about Drew Lock in the chat. It's a step in the right direction. All right, what's next? From Brian, my guy. Of course, Brian from the Madden League. My guys, I just want to wish you a late happy holidays. Y'all are part of the daily joy in our lives. Also, vote in the Madden chat. We're good. As soon as this podcast ends, Zach's gonna hop on there and take care of what he's got to take care of.
I mean, you guys know how I operate. I put it in my notes. So, and in fact, it just went off right now. So I'm gonna do it right after.
There you go. Set like a 15-minute snooze on that thing.
Yep, exactly.
Will Jock, thank you, Zach. We love you, bro. They're just throwing money at you, Zach.
And I'll take care of business.
From Steve, no receiver is more valuable than an elite quarterback. Damn right. John Elway. Oh, we lost it there for a second. John Elway made Vance Johnson, Ricky Nattiel, Mark Jackson look elite. Demaryius Thomas couldn't make Simeon look elite, although Demaryius Thomas did have a 1,000-yard receiving season with Trevor Simeon.
So did Emmanuel Sanders. Yeah, they both did
impressive.
In 2016.
They just didn't have anyone else over 400 yards.
Wasn't Demaryius? Oh yeah, seriously. Wasn't Demaryius just a couple yards away from doing it the following season when not only was it Trevor, but it was Brock and Paxton Lynch?
Yeah, he came very close. I mean, I was doing a countdown in week 17 again, that Chiefs game, and he actually did. He came close, and he had the touchdown there at the end of Paxton Lynch's last NFL pass was a touchdown to Demaryius.
Wow, he went out on top just like John Elway. All right, what's next?
I think we hit them all. So should we dive into the comments section?
Yeah, that's it. That's it for the super chats in live. Although, like you guys said, I'm seeing the comments come in. Woo! It's getting spicy in there.
It is getting spicy in there. All you got to do is just roll a little Drew Lock bomb in there, which we didn't even bring up his name. Someone else in there.
No, you didn't.
Jazzy Bronco comes in. Well, not the result that I wanted for my first live game. Disappointed that another season is over, but proud to be a part of Broncos country and the DNVR family. There were a lot of passionate fans ready to explode in that place, and it just never happened. The first half ending was awesome and took the air out of Raiders fans in that place. If we would have come out and got a 3-and-out on the first drive, I think we win. We didn't get it done on offense, on defense, and on the sideline with the coaching loss all around, and the season ends. Hopefully this season we get quality replacements for 3 of the 4 most important positions in this organization. We need the right ownership, and George needs to find better coaching and a better QB. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about what better coaching, better ownership, and a better quarterback position could look like in the first segment. And man, I really feel like we're being dragged back down to earth after that conversation in the first two segments. I'm so pumped, so happy, and then okay, this is actually the reality of right now.
Yeah, reality sucks. Nemo 3, realistically, what would it take to secure the number 1 overall pick in 2023, aka Bryce Young? If we get Bryce, we're done with that position for the next 15 years. Who cares about 3 years worth of picks in the grand scheme of things? I think the closer we get to the 2023 draft, the more expensive the price to move up becomes. I'm not sure if this fan base could handle another below average and underwhelming season, but I'd be willing to tough it out if I knew we were finally going to be able to get our franchise QB who would be cost controlled for 4 to 5 years. What would it take? Honestly, luck. Luck is what it would take, in my opinion. And what I mean by that is you would have to guess who's going to be the number 1 overall pick next year right now and try to make a deal with them for their first round pick. That's the best I can do for you, because I don't think whoever has that pick is going to give it up unless, it's a quarterback injury type of thing and they already have their guy. Say it was the Jags again, because Trevor Lawrence went down for 9 games or something. I'll touch wood for him. Then I could see that happening, but then you're gonna have to trade, like you said, 3 first-round picks, which I'd be fine with if you went and got your guy. I just think you need luck.
Well,
Yeah,
you need luck.
you do.
The other thing also, I did an exercise on Pro Football Network's draft machine. And I said, okay, how many first-round picks can I get with if I punt the entire 22 draft? Because you're sitting there, right? We got 2/3, 2 seconds, and of course, a first-round pick that keeps going up in value. Now, I don't think this is reality. I end up with I punted the entire draft, and I had 6 first-round picks for 2023.
Yeah.
And that was when I thought, okay,
crazy.
Yeah. A team with the number 1 overall pick, I think even they would be hard pressed to turn down 6 first-round picks.
Yeah, I mean, we've been seeing some crazy stuff like this unfold in the Madden League.
Yes.
People will do absurd things for a quarterback, and
Right.
And that would be one of them. I just don't think you get the 6 first. I don't know how you possibly get 6 first-round picks just for punting 1 draft.
What you do? Well, the thing is, it's kind of your packaging picks. Like you start by trading down, and then you trade down again, and that picks up, and so all of a sudden you're adding up. And the other thing is that this year's picks are always more valuable than next year's picks, and this is where it went kind of out of kilter for reality. But I was able to turn those 2nd and 3rd round picks into 1st round picks next year.
Yeah, I mean, it's
no
possible,
chance you can turn a 3rd round pick into a 1st.
No, a 2 and a 3. I'd do like a 2 and a one was like a 2, a 3, and a 4 for a 1 next year.
Sure.
And one was like a 2, a 3, and 2 day 3 picks. I mean, that was the thing. I literally punted the entire draft.
I love it. We also know everything we see on Pro Football on those mock drafts is absolutely wild. I mean, I'm seeing every first-round quarterback. People are already tagging me, and there's every first-round quarterback's going pick like 57 and 62. It's like, okay, the quarterback draft class isn't that bad, guys.
Yeah,
it's not that bad. Someone's going in the top 10, maybe even the top 5, and that's why kind of the backup plan, if you don't get one of these elite quarterbacks that we've been talking about in recent pods with like Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers, if you lose the next couple of games and you're sitting there with a top 10 pick, now you got something you can work with. If you want to move up and if you identify QB1, if you want to make sure you get him, you actually are in a position to do it if you finish 7 and 10.
All right, I want to move on. There's a few more things there, but we're a little bit strapped for time. So the next one here is from Coach Tobin. What is the difference between the Dolphins and the Broncos? They just seem to have a different vibe and moving in the right direction. We never seem to get that. I mean, I think the Dolphins really like their coach.
The vibe check is different there. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, Miami's, it's usually got good vibes. But I just think, they really like their coach. They respect their coach. He's it's not like he's some player's coach. He's a no-nonsense guy. But I also think there really is something to this. The Broncos, just hear me out here. The Broncos defense is better than the Dolphins. So don't get that twisted. But I do think there is something to the aggression that Brian Flores calls his defense with that fires up the team. You know, it's big blitzes all the time. It's man coverage across the board. It's zero, you know, all that stuff that like instills an attitude in your team that like we are the aggressor. Now, again, it's not perfect. They had a 7-game losing streak this year, but now they're on a 7-game win streak. They caught the wave. And I think there's something to be said of, you know, that's Brian Flores' personality. He's aggressive and he calls the game that way, and it carries over into that team.
It does. It really does. And also they're getting pretty solid quarterback play from Tua as well. And they're just playing really good complementary football. And
they have a creative offense. Very creative.
Mm-hmm. That play at the goal line was money. To use Phillip Lindsay as a little trick there, and then you get Waddle with the ball. That's so easy.
Phil almost fumbled last night, but still zero.
He kept it going. He kept it going.
It actually really wasn't even that close, but he still has the streak.
It was close for him.
Yes, exactly.
Pismo Beach Bronco says, what a joke that game was. Where was the run game or any remote creativity? These are trying times, and I just wanted to say that I thought RK nailed it when he said Peyton wasted this season. I remember being in the middle of work when I got the news that we signed Teddy. I couldn't even focus the rest of the day. Why, you say? Because my anxiety was through the roof about that 500 would be our best case scenario, yet here we are today. Us fans can't endure the unending torture that is Broncos football any longer. It isn't the 1950s anymore. The game has evolved. The 2001 Ravens, 2013 Seahawks, and 2015 Broncos were exceptions to the rule, and that they rode defense to championships. Even though the Seahawks had Wilson and the Broncos had PFM, the madness needs to end. Fans need to give up the cult-like hope that Drew is a franchise guy and also stop hating on Teddy. Comparing the two is like comparing a Kia to a Hyundai. We all need to be united here, not divided as fans. I sure hope the front office fixes these issues, finds a quarterback and a coach that has the offensive mind. It's so abundantly clear that that's what this team needs. Fans, treat each other kindly. Remember, the Broncos stink because the Broncos stink. It's not like our opinions shape the direction of the front office. Here's to taking the first step out of darkness and into the light.
By the way, did you guys see what Mina Kimes said in reaction to a tweet about Drew Lock yesterday?
Yes,
I did not.
She there was a tweet from Patrick Claybon of NFL Network who retweeted something about from I think from SI.com about Vic Fangio's comments post game about Drew Lock, and he said some of these replies are amazing, and then Mina replied, "Wait, there's still a Drew hive."
Yeah, there still is. People, you know, the Broncos haven't given people a lot to believe in.
Yeah.
So they've clinched on to the one thing that they think might possibly be the answer at quarterback. I don't really blame people. It's not going to be Teddy who's going to be something that you can attach your hope to.
I don't blame people, but at the same time, when it's viewed this way from outside, that it's just viewed as something completely absurd. Shouldn't that make everyone kind of take a step back and think, okay, hey, what are we clinging to here?
Maybe. By the way, I have to say that Vic's the way that Vic talks about Drew and the way that he talks about Teddy is questionable. Like, that's not just fans cooking up conspiracy theories.
Yeah, that was like the comment yesterday when I asked the question. And Zach and I talked about this in the pod yesterday. I mean, I put it on a tee for Vic to say something nice about Drew. Because Vic had pointed out that they got beat at the line of scrimmage, that the running game wasn't working. And so I said, hey, in light of that, what did you think of Drew's performance? And then he closes with, we didn't quite make the plays, but I wasn't terribly disappointed in his performance either. Obviously, it could be better. Wasn't terribly disappointed. I mean,
yeah,
you can't have a comment more backhanded than what Vic had yesterday. It was wild.
And people have gone back to that Chiefs game when the Broncos scored 9 points.
Right.
And Vic and Teddy threw 2 interceptions, 2 bad, one really bad interception.
And then one was a tip at the line. I mean, that happens for any quarterback.
And Vic was a lot more easy on Teddy in that game. So, and to be fair, I brought this up too. The Broncos put up a hell of a lot more yards in that game. I think they put up 400 offensive yards in that game. So yeah, you're gonna feel a little bit better about the offense in general. But it's not nothing. I don't think it's nothing that Vic refuses to say anything nice about Drew.
Well, I mean, that just clearly shows you what he thinks of him behind the scenes, because we saw it. We all saw it on the field, and Vic sees it more behind the scenes than anyone, and we know how Vic feels about him.
This is my conspiracy theory. This is my tinfoil hat. I think the relationship between Drew and Vic was completely fractured with the COVID thing last year.
100%. And honestly, I can't blame Vic for that being a point of no return.
I think I can.
I can't. He let down the quarterback room, because it's not just Drew. The quarterback room let down the entire team and organization, not just by what they did trying to get around it, but then trying to cover it up, which, as I've also said, given all the cameras that are around the Broncos facility, it's unbelievably stupid if you're trying to lie and get away with it, because if you can't see their cameras everywhere, there's something wrong. But Vic is culpable as well, because he didn't keep a COVID quarterback, something I know the three of us said he should do over the summer when Bruce Arians first put out that idea. So the disaster could have been prevented if Vic had been smart about it.
I think that plays into it, because Vic actually does have to shoulder some of the blame, but he doesn't want to. So he's like, well, what you did made me look bad. For his own mistake. I just don't think that should, it was a mistake by all of those players, but that can't be that. In my opinion, that shouldn't be the end all. And if it was, cut him. In my opinion,
I agree, and I think Vic would have said, "Yeah, let's do it." And I mean, I think these comments just show that, right? I mean, I think Vic would have been fine without Drew this year.
Yeah, the other thing is, George Payton indicating to Peter King that he wanted to give Locke a chance. Which, was it about giving Locke a chance for the sake of Drew, or was it about giving Locke a chance for the sake of John Elway still being in that building?
And you could ask the question: was he actually given a chance?
He had. Then that's where you get into whether the competition was decided or not. I mean, he got 50% of the reps, and look, most positions, if you're bottom 4, bottom 5 at league wide, you're at best fighting for your job, if not outright replaced.
I completely agree. My whole thing is if it was all just a charade, it was a massive waste of resources and reps to even pretend. If it was always going to be up to Vic, and Vic was already out on Drew, then we all just wasted our time. Okay, let's move on. I can't believe we got into a Drew Lock conversation.
I can.
I thought we were going to avoid it today. All right, Mason, Zach, this is from D Bronc. You guys seem to be on the Fangio should go bandwagon. So assuming Aaron Rodgers is coming here, no matter who the coach is, who would you want the Broncos to hire? The candidates I've heard Benjamin Albright mention sound extremely underwhelming. As for that last point, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, I agree with that too. And one of them is a guy I brought up, Dan Quinn. I think his intangibles are great, but let me just bang my head into a wall if we go back to defense in a world of offense. Mace, you lay out great points of why Dan Quinn could be enticing, but just that offensive piece, and sure, he can get an offensive guy. Anyways, we've talked about that, but that's just something where I want to see a different direction going there. I'd want to see innovative offensive mind. I think Brian Daboll's really hurt himself this year in that regard, and so you just want to get young, creative, innovative offensive minds for me.
Yeah, I'm less concerned about the scheme of and the tactics that a coach brings, and more concerned about their leadership, their big picture vision, their ability to solve problems. Look, personally for me, and I don't think this is George Payton's MO, but personally for me, I want somebody who's been a head coach before and has presumably learned from that. I mean, I would be very intrigued by either of the two coaches the Jaguars are interviewing, Doug Peterson and Jim Caldwell. And of course, Caldwell has been a head coach with Peyton Manning before. I like Dan Quinn's background. I like Todd Bowles' background as well. Of course, he was the Jets head coach, but he's been in Tampa Bay the last couple of years. I'd be curious to see who he might bring off Tampa Bay's staff on the offensive side to run that. Of course, you wouldn't get to work with Tom Brady anymore. But for me, if it were up to me, those are the coaches I would be looking at. I let a coach make the first time mistakes on someone else's dime. I want somebody who's done it before.
Yeah, and that's why to me, Doug Peterson's probably the top of my list. I'm okay going someone inexperienced, but if you can get someone experienced and creative, I mean, guys, that just Doug Peterson screams that. Now, I don't know the issues and the extent to the issues and what happened with him in Philadelphia. Ryan, you guys probably know better than I do, but it didn't seem like it was all on him. It seemed like there was a lot of other things, but if those things aren't a concern in your deep dive, he's got to be number one on my list.
I really felt like he was a victim of injury. That team was just getting beat up so much every year, especially on the offensive line. And, we learned that when he's not protected, Carson Wentz falls apart. So that's what I thought was the biggest case. Obviously, there's going to be other mismanagement and, those sort of things. But I really like Doug Peterson. He is innovative. If the Jags want him, I can't imagine him not going there and wanting to work with Trevor Lawrence. One thing I will say is, to me, Byron Leftwich feels like the perfect answer for the Jags. Former player there, exciting young offensive mind, worked with Tom Brady, then he goes and works with Trevor Lawrence. It feels like a match made in heaven to me. We'll see if they wait that long to interview him.
Well, that's the thing. They might now, with the Bucs injuries right now, as good as Tom Brady is, it might not be waiting until the Super Bowl. It might be waiting only until the divisional round, and that might kind of change the dynamic for Leftwich. One thing for Peterson, I think he really wants that job. He doesn't live in the Jacksonville area. He lives about 4 hours south down I-95 in Jupiter, but he's in Florida. Like, I think that's the job that he craves, and I think also the Jaguars, frankly, given some of the moves they've made over the years and some of the coaching missteps that have been made by Shahid Khan running that team, that maybe the idea of getting someone with Peterson's experience on the NFL level really is attractive. And also, I think the other thing about Peterson, you talked about him in Philadelphia, RK, the guy won some big games, high leverage games, with Nick Foles at quarterback.
Yep.
That says a lot about him.
Yeah, it really does. And it says a lot about Nick Foles as well. But winning a Super Bowl with Nick Foles against Tom Brady.
And Bill Belichick.
And that's
he out-coached Bill Belichick in the Super Bowl.
He sure
did. And doing it with offense, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to rewatch that game. That was an incredible Super Bowl.
It was thrilling.
And speaking of creativity.
Yeah, he wasn't afraid to be daring with Nick Foles. Think about that. Like, there was no, we talk about how some coaches coach with fear. Doug Peterson has no fear in how he attacks a game. I love that.
And I just think, man, what could Doug Peterson do with Geno Smith as the Broncos quarterback this year? And that just gets me fired up.
A lot of people also mention...
Why the flat earther?
A lot of people also mention Kellen Moore in this conversation. I legitimately think the Broncos would have a really hard time firing Vic Fangio and hiring Kellen Moore after Vic Fangio schooled Kellen Moore this year.
And then after Vic Fangio texted a columnist here, Kisla, just about that. I mean, if Kellen Moore wouldn't work out, the Broncos, I don't think, would ever be able to live that down.
What did he text Kisla?
He after the Broncos beat the Cowboys, I'm pretty sure Vic texted Kisla and said, like, you can scratch Kellen Moore off your list to replace me.
How did I miss that? First of all, that's incredible. Second of all, why do coaches seem to love the guys that are so hard on them?
They do love them. Yeah.
Like Woody Page, Woody Page used to be the one who would go in and hammer everyone. Somehow he got all the sources in the world.
Yep. The
harder you go, the better
scoops you get.
It's like they ask Patrick for their number because they wanted to be able to defend themselves, or something like that, and then they strike up a conversation.
Exactly.
It's funny. All right, let's get one more here. We've run extremely long. So the next one here is from H-Town Bronco. If the Broncos are smart, they lose the last 2 games and get a higher draft pick, which would sweeten the deal even further for Green Bay or Seattle. Unfortunately, after witnessing the last 5 years of the Broncos, I fear the Broncos are no longer a smart franchise. No leadership has us looking like a bunch of idiots. Like someone has a different input each week and it doesn't work, so they go to another option. We need someone who has brass balls in the front office, who doesn't take no crap and bleeds winning. Only way to turn this broken ship around. The good news for the Broncos is they're playing 2 capable teams in the last 2 weeks that could/should beat them. I worry about the Chargers not being able to hold up their end of that bargain because they're the Chargers.
Yeah. Let's see how many players they have in this game. Because that's what last Sunday was all about. Everybody reaches a point where you can't, where the phrase "next man up" means nothing. They ran out of next guys, and Justin Herbert wasn't, especially on the defensive side. And so I think a big question is, like Joey Bosa, for example, because he's unvaccinated, the end of the time that he has to be away, it's right. He's got to have those negative tests, right? So we may not know about him until Saturday, for example.
Mm-hmm.
But if they get a bunch of guys back, then I think it's going to be tough for the Broncos to win that game. If the Broncos really want to just punt it, they'd say, all right, let's come up with an injury for Javonte Williams. We're going to start Brett Rippon. We're just going to, we're going to just bench guys left and right, come up with injuries and move on. But they're not going to do that. And players are going to put forth an earnest and professional effort because they're pros. And that's what, like Shelby Harris alluded to, Drew Lock alluded to. They're pros, and they're going to try to win that game. But yeah,
kind of bringing in everything we're talking about, including what you're talking about right now, Mace, is the Colts just placed Carson Wentz on the COVID list. He's unvaccinated, so probably out. So, this is just something where this kind of brings everything together. Doug Peterson, Eagles, Carson Wentz, COVID. You said you want to wait till betting till the last moment.
You're right.
These are all of the reasons why.
And that's wild because the Colts are playing the Raiders. And the Raiders have 4 defensive starters who went on the COVID list yesterday. And now Carson Wentz goes on the COVID list. The Colts offensive line is in an absolute shambles. I mean, we're going to be watching up like a preseason type of game between 2 teams who have legitimate playoff chances here. It's a huge game.
Jonathan Taylor rushing yards.
Oh my God. This is going to be the Taylor versus Jacobs show.
It very, very well could be. Here's what I'll say. I would not be surprised if by the time the playoffs come around, the rules in the NFL have changed drastically on this sort of stuff. I would venture to guess in the playoffs they aren't going to test vaccinated players. So
yeah, we'll see. But I agree with you. The rules
and players are going to, and if players are feeling symptoms, if they can hide them, they're not going to say they have symptoms.
Of course, exactly. That's what I mean. The whole thing's going to change, and they'll make sure that the product is good for the playoffs. I
can't taste anything. Well, everything's going to taste like cardboard, but I'm not telling anybody.
And this wouldn't be. That's not new. I think I've talked about it before. Mm-hmm. Tyler Palumba said the last stage of the concussion protocol is they just ask you, well, do you have a headache or any symptoms? And every player just says no.
They all know the answers to give. Exactly. Yeah. You can manipulate this.
As soon as it's going to be. We'll see what happens. But they're not going to let that happen in a playoff game. They will not. I mark my words on that. Okay, guys. Before we get out of here, a shout out to Green Mountain Dental Group, where you can get a free Sonicare toothbrush when you schedule a cleaning, X-ray, and exam just outside of Denver, right there in Lakewood. They treat you like family. They're all Colorado sports fans. They're up on the latest news. They're probably watching this podcast right now in the office. You could probably ask them to put it on for you. So go check out our friends over at Green Mountain Dental Group. Get any dental work you need done there. But this was great, guys. Lots of great conversation. Appreciate everyone contributing in the chat. Even the ones who are fighting, it's okay. We forgive you. We'll see you. I'm sure you'll be ready to put the gloves on again tomorrow, and we'll see you guys then. Again, appreciate everyone, and have a good day.